What's going on, everyone? Let me tell you about something that absolutely exploded on First Take this morning, that has the entire NFL world reconsidering everything they thought they knew about the NFC playoff race and whether the 49ers should be taken seriously as championship contenders. I'm talking about the kind of statement victory that forces you to completely reevaluate a team's ceiling, the type of win that happens in the worst possible conditions against a quality opponent, and makes you realize that maybe this squad has more resilience and championship DNA than anyone gave them credit for. This isn't just about the 49ers beating the Browns 26-8 in Cleveland. This is about what that victory represents in the context of a completely wide-open NFC, where the Rams just lost to the Panthers, and suddenly the Bears are the #1 seed, and nobody has any idea who's actually going to represent the conference in the Super Bowl. So buckle up, because what I'm about to share from today's First Take broadcast isn't just about one game, it's about championship mentality, about opportunistic football, about coaching excellence, about whether Kyle Shanahan deserves more credit than he's getting, and about why the 49ers at 9-4 might actually be the most dangerous team in the entire NFC, despite all the adversity they've faced this season. All right, here's the situation that had the entire First Take panel absolutely fired up this morning. And I'm talking about Stephen A. Smith, literally standing up out of his chair, screaming about how everyone has been sleeping on the 49ers while focusing on the Rams and Eagles. The main story that emerged wasn't just that San Francisco won their third straight game to improve to 9-4, it was how they won. It was the manner in which they dominated a quality Cleveland team in absolutely miserable weather conditions that historically have given Brock Purdy problems. When you really break down what happened in that game, when you see a team taking full advantage of every single opponent mistake, when you watch an offense execute efficiently despite awful conditions, and a defense that's been one of the best in football lately, it becomes impossible to dismiss this team as just another pretender that's going to fold when the games matter most. Niners faithful, I need you right now. This content doesn't reach the fans who need it without your help. That like button is how we grow, how we build, how we make this the home for Niners fans on YouTube. One click, 1 second, changes everything. If you bleed orange and blue and you love this content, prove it right now. Smash that like button. Let's build this together. Once a Niners, always a Niners. Let me start by giving you the full context that First Take was establishing right at the beginning of the broadcast, because understanding where the 49ers were a few weeks ago versus where they are now is absolutely essential for grasping the magnitude of what they've accomplished. This is a team that started 3-0, then went through an absolute nightmare stretch where they lost 5 games and fell to 3-5, looked completely lost defensively, couldn't run the ball effectively, had Brock Purdy throwing interceptions and looking shaky, and everyone in the media had completely written them off as a team that wasn't going to make the playoffs. Stephen A. was reminding everyone that he was the one saying not to count them out, that Kyle Shanahan is too good of a coach for this team to stay down, that having Christian McCaffrey healthy changes everything. And now, here they are, winners of 3 straight 9-4 on the season, and playing their best football at exactly the right time. But here's what really got the First Take panel engaged about this 49ers victory, and this is where the opportunistic football concept that defined the game becomes so important. The analysts were breaking down how San Francisco didn't win pretty. They didn't put up gaudy offensive numbers. They didn't dominate statistically in most categories, but they took advantage of every single Browns mistake to build a lead and never let Cleveland back into the game. The 66-yard punt return by Sky Moore that set up a Christian McCaffrey touchdown, that was being opportunistic. The 4th down stop deep in Browns territory when Kevin Stefanski made an inexplicably bad decision to go for it, with a rookie tight end taking a snap from under center that was capitalizing on opponent errors. The late-game fumbled punt on a fair catch that led to the Brock Purdy touchdown pass to Jawan Jennings that was putting the game away by taking advantage of mistake. Championship teams win those moments, And the 49ers won every single one. The show dove deep into Brock Purdy's performance and why it should actually be viewed as an impressive showing despite the pedestrian stat line. And here's where you really see the growth and maturity in his game. Purdy finished 16 of 29 for 168 yards with 1 passing touchdown and 1 rushing touchdown. Numbers that won't blow anyone away, but the First Take crew was praising how he played in awful weather conditions that have historically given him trouble. The analysts were pointing out that when Purdy played in Cleveland back in 2023, it was one of the worst starts of his entire NFL career. He looked completely lost in the bad weather and couldn't get anything going. But in this game, he was making throws downfield with touch and accuracy. He had that beautiful 33-yard completion to George Kittle that set up a field goal before halftime. He accounted for 2 touchdowns, including that rushing score where he faked out the entire defense with a read option fake to McCaffrey. Stephen A. was arguing that this is the kind of performance that shows Purdy can win in adverse conditions, that he's not just a system quarterback who needs perfect circumstance. What the First Take analysts kept emphasizing, and I think this is absolutely critical for understanding why the 49ers should be taken seriously, is the Kyle Shanahan coaching narrative and whether he's getting enough credit for what he's done this season. The panel was discussing how Shanahan came into this game 1-9 all-time as an offensive coordinator and head coach against Jim Schwartz's defenses, how his offenses averaged under 16 points per game against Schwartz, how everyone expected the Browns' defensive coordinator to completely shut down San Francisco's attack. Instead, the 49ers scored 26 points. They executed when they needed to on third down, they moved the ball effectively despite the weather, and they completely flipped that narrative. The First Take crew was debating whether Shanahan deserves Coach of the Year consideration for taking a team that was 3-5 and completely turning them around while dealing with massive injuries and adversity all season. The panel spent extensive time analyzing the NFC playoff picture and why the 49ers should absolutely be considered legitimate contenders despite their schedule strength concerns. And this sparked heated debates between the analysts. Stephen A. was passionately arguing that the NFC is wide open, that the Rams just lost to the Panthers, which nobody saw coming, that the Bears are somehow the #1 seed despite having obvious holes, that the Eagles are free-falling, that the Packers have flaws, that nobody in the conference looks unbeatable. The other analysts were pushing back, saying the 49ers' schedule has been weak and they haven't beaten any elite teams. But Stephen A. was screaming that you can only play who's on your schedule, and the 49ers are doing what they're supposed to do, which is handle business. The debate was getting genuinely contentious, with everyone talking over each other. What I found particularly fascinating during today's First Take discussion was when they started breaking down the specific plays and moments that defined the game and showed the 49ers' championship mentality. The analysts were rewatching the Sky Moore punt return with that vicious, stiff arm on the punter that set up the McCaffrey touchdown, discussing what a sneaky great trade that's been for John Lynch bringing in Moore, who's become one of the better returners in football. They showed the 4th down stop where the 49ers defense completely stuffed the Browns in short yardage, praising the defensive execution and decision-making. They replayed the Brock Purdy rushing touchdown where he completely sold the fake handoff to McCaffrey, and the entire Cleveland defense bid on it, allowing Purdy to walk into the end zone. The First Take crew was making the point that these are winning plays. These are the types of moments that separate championship teams from pretenders. The show also explored the Christian McCaffrey impact and what having him healthy means for this offense's ceiling going forward. And honestly, this was one of the more important discussions. McCaffrey had 20 carries for 53 yards, plus a touchdown. Not spectacular numbers, but he's clearly not 100% yet, after missing so much time with injuries. The First Take panel was discussing how even a diminished McCaffrey still commands so much defensive attention that it opens up everything else for the offense, how his presence in the backfield makes the play-action game more effective, how defenses have to respect the run, which creates opportunities downfield. The analysts were projecting that as McCaffrey gets healthier over the next few weeks leading into the playoffs, this offense is only going to get more dangerous, which should terrify every NFC team. What really struck me during the first take analysis was when they started discussing the defensive transformation and how the 49ers have forced 7 turnovers over their last 3 games. The panel was praising Robert Saleh's defense for completely turning around from that disaster early in the season, discussing how they've been solid against the run lately, how the pass rush has been getting home more consistently, with guys like Cleveland making plays, how the secondary is playing with more confidence. Stephen A. was making the argument that defense wins championships, and the 49ers are rounding into form defensively at exactly the right time, that if this defense continues playing at this level, combined with Shanahan's offensive genius, they're going to be nobody's easy out in the playoffs. The panel also spent significant time analyzing Kyle Shanahan's coaching performance this season and whether he deserves more respect than he gets, and this sparked passionate defenses of Shanahan's legacy. The analysts were going through everything Shanahan has had to deal with: massive injuries to key players, the 3-5 start, Brandon Ayuk drama, offensive line shuffling, Brock Purdy struggles, and how he's managed to right the ship and get this team to 9-4. The First Take crew was discussing Shanahan's creativity as a play caller, his ability to scheme players open, his adjustments at halftime that consistently give the 49ers advantages in second halves. Stephen A. was arguing that if Shanahan finally wins a Super Bowl, he immediately jumps into the conversation of elite coaches, that the only thing holding him back from universal acclaim is not having that ring. One aspect that got really interesting discussion was the comparison to the 49ers' 2021 season, when they started 3-5 and made it all the way to the NFC Championship game. The First Take panel was drawing direct parallels to this season, discussing how that team was written off as dead before they got hot at the right time, how they went on the road and won playoff games as underdog, how they came within 1 game of the Super Bowl. The analysts were making the argument that this team might actually be better than that 2021 squad because they have more offensive weapons when healthy, because the defense is playing at a higher level, because Purdy gives them more consistency at quarterback than they had with Jimmy Garoppolo. The debate was whether the 49ers can actually replicate or exceed that playoff run. Listen, after watching the entire First Take segment this morning about the 49ers' dominant victory over the Browns and what it means for the NFC playoff race, I'm absolutely convinced that San Francisco should be taken deadly seriously as a championship contender, and anyone sleeping on them is making a huge mistake. This is a team that's won 3 straight games. They're playing their best football at exactly the right time. They have a Hall of Fame coach who knows how to win in January. They have elite playmakers when healthy, and they're peaking defensively just as the playoffs approach. Yes, their schedule has been weak, and they haven't beaten any juggernauts, but, as Stephen A. said, you can only play who's on your schedule, and the 49ers are dominating those games. The NFC is wide open, with the Rams losing to the Panthers, the Bears as the 1 seed despite obvious flaws, the Eagles collapsing. Nobody looks unbeatable. If the 49ers get into the playoffs at 9-4 or better, they're going to be the team that nobody wants to face because of the coaching, the playmakers, the championship experience, and the momentum they're building. Don't sleep on Kyle Shanahan's squad. They're coming for that NFC title, and they have every piece necessary to win it all.